Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles.
Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin the guy. Obviously, I have a garage shop. Taking Scary how to use bikes one bike at a time.
If you like these videos, please like and subscribe.
Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin the guy. We're looking on this 5200 Trek OCLV, made in the United States. Just got all the parts on there. Now we're going to throw on some cables and housing. First, we're going to string up the cables. So let me dive down and grab some cables that I have. We're going to need 2 brake cables and 2 derailleur cables. All right. So I like to do the derailleur cables first. And you release the derailleur all the way down, or the shifter all the way down, so you have a clean line of sight through the shifter itself. Like so. So it matches in there. And on the other side, same thing. And pull that all the way through. To make sure they're in there. And then onto the brake cable. And I don't string this until I'm actually ready to do the cutting of the cables and the housing and adjustments, because I don't want the housing or the cables to be dangling and end up stepping on them sometimes and it'll kink them. I want a perfectly non-kinked cables. So they're all nice and tucked out of the way. So we got those guys. Now I'm gonna cut some housing and get it all prepped. I do have the old housing, so I'm gonna measure that out pretty close and double check it, and I'll show you how that's done. But first we're gonna cut, well, actually let's just go right into double checking them. This is the derailleur housing that was on there initially. What you wanna do on this is have the same amount of bend. Since I did switch out this bar and stem, I actually brought it in closer so it was more of a bow to it. I might wanna trim this back a little bit so it's not as long. The rear derailleur should be about the same in the back here, which I want to add a little bit length to this because I want to have a nice bend to it, not a kink. So the cable actually has a smoother direction to pull from it. And the front brake cable looks about right. The rear brake cable. And you want to make sure it fits that bend. So that looks really good. It may have been on short there a little bit originally. These are for the rear brake from the stop here. Very, very specific length. And they're a little bit that way and that way. Gonna make a big difference with the bend in it. This looks like it's pretty good, so I want to definitely match this one for sure. So now to pull some cables and cut them. So you want to use the cable cutter for this guy, and I'm going to need a file, a poker, and a modified spoke. And I ground this down to be a poker, but it has some ridges on it, and I'll show you the reason why here in a moment. And then, since I'm an older lad, I need some spectacles. Actually, this way it looks a little bit better. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the brake. Brake housing is different than the shifting housing. So I got a bulk down here, so I'm gonna measure it up, cut it. Rear, and I just match it 1 to 1, cut it. There's the front. tuck that back. So here's the old one, here's the new one. And you can see this one's clear and this one's boogered up. So we need to make sure the boogered up ends are cleared off. So by that, you want a clean cut. So sometimes you have to recut this. So that little burr part is gone, like so, but that's not done yet. You're gonna take that, then take a file. In the shop, you'd use a grinder sometimes, if they have one. Get that excess plastic piece off. So it's nice and flush. And that's where that modified spoke threads ground down comes in really handy, because you can really pick at that excess material that's inside and pop it out. Get it in there. Get it out. And then you take a razor blade, cut that piece off, and then it's nice and clean. Rinse, recycle, repeat, right? We've got 5 more of these to do. So try to catch that lip. Clean cut. File. Super clean. So that's that one. That's the old one. Here's the new one. Voila! Now, onto the shifter cables. And just to remember, I wanted to do these just a little shorter and do the one to the derailleur a little longer. So it's a different housing, and the brake is coiled, so it's a spiral, and shifters is splined, so it's multiples splined out. So I'm gonna make it a little shorter. I take the new one and measure it side by side, pull together so it's even. And then for the rear, I was gonna add a little bit. I'm just talking about like a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch length extra, like so. Tuck that back in. It's getting unraveled. These guys, they all pinched because of the cutter. So I use this poker to give me a clean hole for no obstruction of rubbing against the cable and mounting the end pieces. Here's the trick of the mounting the end pieces. So you got these, and this is the end pieces, the caps. And I saved the old derailleur cable, cut off the frayed off part. So I'm using this as a like an installer cable now, since it's been used and kinked. It's good for this, but for installing, this is the trick. So I put the cable in there, put a drop of lube on that, so the fitting of this fits over, compressed, but there's a little gap in there. It's pressed, so you need to use some pressure. Instead of doing it on the bike, I can pre-compress these. I'm going to show you here with a tool using an old derailleur cable. If I can get it to get through the cable cap. So once that is on there, pull the cable through. So on this end is the derailleur stop of the cable, and this is the cable here. I'm going to take a cable puller. And when I push this, it's compressing the housing into the caps. So it's nice and tight, so it's pre-pressed. So this housing should be pretty good to go, and it'll be a minimal of compression causing a farce of stretch cable. So I do that to each one of these. All three of them. So the two front and rear shifters, this is the shifters, and the one that goes to the rear derailleur. And that's what happens when you use this. It kinks the cable to the point where it doesn't want to pull through sometimes. That's why you can't reuse it. So see, it's like catching there. So what I'm gonna do is just is it frayed right on that end. So just bloop and throw that away. That's how I pre-do my housing. So now I have my front and rear and derailleur shifter cables, and I have the brake cables here. I have the end caps already installed on those. These will, for the brake, there's gonna be only two, I believe I'm gonna need. One to the rear brake and one to the rear caliper. And the front doesn't need it because the shifter and the brake caliper itself has the fittings already pre-built. But this goes into the actual sleeve into the frame, both here and here on those. So without further ado, we'll just jump right into this. All right, we're gonna start with the front brake. So this metal piece covering is gonna go in the frame and the open end. Without that, you don't want to put it in there, but it's already designed to take that fitting. Sometimes you'll see people, they'll put a fitting in there and it'll jam up in there. It's not necessary. It's okay if it's in there, but you'll just need to get some pliers and needle nose pliers to pull them out. So get this guy locked into his position, and that fits right into that fitting. Like so, I think. There you go. Onto the front. Tighten that down, clamp that. Sometimes when you hit the brakes, it'll compress inside here, be more of a snug fit. Don't want to feel sloppy at all. And once it's tight, then you tighten this guy. And we'll adjust that afterwards. And onto the rear. The fitting piece goes into the frame. The non-fitting goes into the Shimano brake caliper. The Shimano brake calipers are already a preset. They have a fitting already. The other brands like Tektro, SRAM, they don't. So you'll need to put a fitting on both sides. Same concept here. Tighten that bad boy up. Hit the brake so it presses inside the shifter, brake lever. And it should feel very crisp because it's brand new cables and housings. And on the back, hit the brake. The reason why I'm hitting the brake, it compresses it and centers it, and then tighten it back up. And it should be pretty close at being centered with a minor adjustment. So that's the brakes. Make sure the cables and housing are not binding. Then we do the front derailleur, which typically goes onto the left side of the bike. Then we do the front housing of the rear. And here's the tricky bit. You don't want it to come out here, you want it to loop inside. The reason being, that brake, you don't want it to bind up. It also gives it a cleaner flow for the cable. Oh. You can see how it bows through here, goes out, and not obstructed by that brake. If it was out here, it may tug on this and cause the brake action to happen, which would not be good. No bueno. And that cable guide that we showed earlier, you can thread that through there. Get your housing. And make sure this goes in there so you have a nice smooth bend. And you tighten that cable up. And for the front, find that guide that's going through. Sometimes they'll pop out and just be rubbing up against the frame, not the cable guide. But you want it to go against the cable guide. I don't know how many times I've seen those. It goes right there. And there you have it. Cables and housing. And then now it goes to adjustments, and after I've adjusted, and it's handlebar tape time. So thank you for spending time with me. Hope you learned a little bit. If you have any questions, put some comments down below. If you like, and please like and subscribe if you like these videos. Thank you for spending time with me. Have a great day from the garage.